All right, joining me now, good friend of mine, gotten to know him through kind of the college hoop scene. I mean, he is covering the hottest team in college basketball, the Auburn Tigers, but I do want to talk a little football here. Cole Cubelic, ESPN, SEC Network. It's the topic that everybody wants to talk about right now. We're recording here Thursday night as baseball is on. I got NBA preseason on in the background. One, how are you? And two, I just want to talk some football with you, my man.
I'm doing well. I think I might be the only person who's had a wife be in the hospital 2 times during the pandemic, and we birthed a child. We had an elective surgery, and we have 2 other children. So it's been just a mess, but it's been a fun mess. It's been good. My wife moved in with her in-laws for 5.5 weeks, so I had the 3-year-old and 5-year-old by myself during the week. It was about an hour away. We went up there on the weekends, and it went pretty fast because it was a blur. But they were dressed, they were fed, and they were accounted for. So that's a win as far as I'm concerned. But obviously, like you said, NBA is coming back next week. Major League Baseball is back tonight. We've had some PGA, we've had some NASCAR, we've had some UFC. So tonight feels more normal to be able to sit down, and even though it was only 6 innings of a Major League Baseball game, but we got to come home, and now there's actual sports on. We don't have to sort of plan our entire week of, okay, when's the 1 or 2 events that I can watch this week? It's kind of like, hey, I can come home and just go find some sports to watch, and that's the way that we're always used to it being. So things are getting better, things are improving, and as far as football is concerned, Aaron, I think we're going to get it. I think we're going to get some form or fashion of college football. My confidence level is pretty high right now. I won't sit here and try to lie to you and tell you that over the last few weeks there haven't been days in which my confidence level was low or lower. But I think the SEC is going to play. I think the ACC is going to do everything they can to play. I think the Big 12 is going to play. I think the Big 10 is a little bit of a question mark. And I think the Pac-12 is a major question mark right now, based mostly on geography. A lot of people would say, well, they don't care about football and they don't put enough into it. It's not that important. I don't look at it from that perspective. I just look at it, what's happening in California right now, specifically in Los Angeles, what's happening in Arizona right now. And we all had the conversations of, well, what would one of these leagues do if you had to leave one team behind or one team couldn't play? Yeah, 1-2 teams, that's fine. But you start talking about a third of your conference. That's a difficult call to say we're going to move forward and go play when, maybe a third of our conference is just not going to be able to do it. USC and UCLA can't even get to campus. They can't go have meetings. They can't work out. They can't go throw. So it's going to be something's going to have to really change in California for the Pac-12 to be able to go. But I think we're going to get some college football. I think it'll start a little bit later. And I think they'll try to get – some leagues are going to try to get 12. Some might be happy with 10. But if we get anywhere from 6 to 12 games and some meaningful college football, I think we'd all be happy. And I think our appetites have shrunk a little bit, and we just kind of just give me the appetizer and we'll go home. We'll be fine.
Well, I was going to say it was amazing because 6 weeks ago, the conversation was, I don't know what my athletic department is going to do if we only have 50% capacity, and my AD is pulling his hair out if he's got to tell season ticket holders that they can't come in. And now it's like, dude, just get me a single game on the field. I don't care. Real quick, and we could kind of branch into a lot of different directions. Is there one – and I think, like you said, every day it feels a little bit different. We're recording here Thursday night. Is there 1 or 2 things that has made you more confident in recent days? What is it that gives you the confidence that whether it is just those 3 conferences you mentioned, the ACC, SEC, Big 12, that we're going to get some form of football on the field pretty soon here in early to mid-September?
Well, one thing is that those 3 conferences are working together. And I think that's a big plus because that's only more resources, it's more information, it's more information sharing. And I think it can be better direction. And I think when the Big Ten decided to sort of step away, it's like all these leagues were arms locked, marching down the street. And next thing you know, the Big Ten, you're trying to find out where they are. And they went off and did this deal on their own. I have some theories as to why that may have happened, but either way they did it. Then the Pac-12 followed them out. So uniformity was something at the very beginning of this, Aaron, that we sort of heard was going to be important and that college football wanted, and they wanted to try to bring, and they thought was going to be a big part of how it could be successful. So I think that's number one. Number two is you're continuing to see the trends of positive tests on campus go down.
Yes.
Whether it's Notre Dame, Nebraska, whether it's Michigan State, whether it's Kentucky.
Oklahoma had a bunch of
Oklahoma just had like 98 with none today. So I think what happened was you had 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds who went home for almost 3 months. They're living with mom and dad in the middle of a pandemic. Some of these kids go back to campus and they're freshmen, first time they've ever been there. Other kids maybe had only been there a year. Well, what have they not been doing for 3 months? They hadn't been chasing
opposite sex. You can say it. I'll say it.
They hadn't been chasing girls. They hadn't been going to bars. They hadn't been going to parties. They hadn't been with their friends. All of that sort of happened at once. And I think some of the older kids knew we just can't do that. But based on what I have been told and what I know, there's a lot of younger kids, immature kids at certain schools, and the schools got that figured out pretty quick. And I think some of the older kids jumped on them. I think the coaches had conversations and basically put it to them as, if you're going to play this game that way, then you won't be a part of this, or we might not be able to be a part of this. And I think everybody sort of woke up to accountability and how important that was going to be if we're going to get any college football, because there was a back and forth of, before the kids came back, you heard a lot of people say, well, they're better off there. They're better off there. Well, medically, yes, they probably are. Socially, I think if you look back on it now, they weren't. And I've had some assistant coaches tell me this, say, man, these kids were better off with mom and dad because it's a pandemic and we got curfews. Nothing's open. There's nothing to do. Mom and dad aren't going to let you go run around. So they're just sitting at home, working out during the day a little bit. Well, now you get back to campus and guess what? You're in your apartment with maybe a roommate or two or by yourself. 8 o'clock rolls around. There's nothing there, sitting there keeping you in that apartment. And all of a sudden you can go out and have fun, go do whatever you want. So that really did sort of blow up in the faces of a lot of these head coaches and their staffs, because I don't know if they anticipated that or thought that was going to happen to the extent that it did. But now they got it figured out. And now that it's figured out, I do think it's a better situation, because most of these kids at home, they're not going to get their temperatures taken every day. They're not going to be tested multiple times a week. There's not going to be multiple medical professionals hovering around them for multiple hours of the day, just trying to oversee what's happening with them. And they're being forced to wear protective gear, to social distance, at least in big chunks of the day. None of us know what would be. All these people that want to jump in and say, well, how are they any safer there? Well, who's telling them to do these things when they're at home? Especially if mom and dad are going back to work. I mean, they're out just doing whatever they want to do. So, I mean, you could roll that discussion into students coming back. And that's, fans in the stands. It's funny you brought that up early, because that ship has kind of sailed for me.
Yep.
Like, I don't even have that
100%.
conversation anymore.
Sure.
I just don't think that maybe we get a few somewhere down the road, but I'm just prepared to have no fans, and I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me. Just like the regular student body not being on campus doesn't bother me. And this is one that, the meemaws and the grandpas and the get off my lawn guys, for some reason, just can't comprehend this. First off, for the environment, for the city, for the township, especially when you're talking about Norman, Oklahoma, Columbus, Ohio is a bigger city. Starkville, Mississippi, Oxford, Mississippi, Auburn, Alabama, Athens, Georgia, Clemson, South Carolina. I don't believe they have the medical facilities in place to bring in 30, 40, 60,000 students and be able to handle something if it were to blow up from that extent. So you can say it's not safer for football players to be there doing what they're doing if the regular students aren't there, but that's just false. It's not reality. It's not safer for the town, for the university, for everybody living there, for the people working at gas stations, restaurants, bars, hotels. It's not safer for them to have 30,000 kids show up. And they might not have the medical capacity to deal with it if it were to happen in the way that it would happen in a lot of college towns. I mean, Madison, Wisconsin set up for that? I don't think so. College Station, Texas probably isn't. So I don't understand why people get so bent out of shape discussing, Well, if it's not safe enough for students, how is it safe enough for football players? Well, 300 versus 30,000 is very different. And how a human brain can't comprehend that, I can't even go down that path, Aaron, because it defines stupidity. So
Sure.
that's if you want to go to the academic portion of it, and if you're the old guard of academia and you got to sit in that classroom and have face-to-face instruction, okay, then now we can have that conversation. Online classes are happening everywhere, every day at every school. And graduate courses have been happening since I was a football player. In 2000 was my last year. And guys would go in and sign up for an independent studies course, and they'd walk into class, they'd get whatever their assignment was, and they'd go back in the last day of the semester and turn it in. And that was it. And guess what they were doing still? Playing football. Joe Burrow last year, online classes. Guys, it's been happening. But for some reason now we're mad about it. So, I think a lot of people are looking for reasons to be mad. They are avoiding common sense in a lot of instances. And there's not a lack of understanding of the wormhole that we could possibly go down of who would be affected by not having football. And if you don't like that, I understand it. That's fine. But I would like to introduce you to reality as to how many different people it would actually affect.
Well, and here's one point that I've been making, and you, like me, we're on these college campuses talking, me more so in the basketball realm, but the football realm is you, is that I think the thing that people are underestimating, who wants a season more than anybody else is the players. I've been saying this. If Joe Burrow did not have a season last year, this is no disrespect, the guy would be selling car insurance somewhere. He'd be working for Geico. So you, as you said, you played at Auburn. You had a very successful career. Take us in that locker room, because I think it's easy for us, whether it's in the media, and me, I think we need sports and all that stuff, but whether it's a media member, whether it's somebody that doesn't have a kid who's playing sports, take us into that locker room, because I think that's an underrated element of this is once you get past Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and maybe 2, 3, 5 other guys, these guys need this season because they've been working their whole lives to have an opportunity to play ideally 12, 13, 14 games, but maybe as few as 7, 8 to put some film on tape to show to the NFL. So as a former player, how important is it to 99.9% of these guys to get on the field this season?
It's everything to them. And even the guys that may not believe they have a real future in the NFL, it's still about being a part of the game. You said it. Playing in the game is the most important thing. I have used your exact argument when certain people in the media go crazy about, oh, my God, they're forcing these children back to campus for workouts against their will.
Yep.
Again, college football players want to be college football players more than anything else. And the only other thing they might want more is to be an NFL football player, which you have to be a college player first. And they're going to do most everything that it takes. And you can call it voluntary, but still nobody's making them do it. Aaron, nobody makes me show up for my radio show every day.
Great point, yep.
But if I skip 5 of them, guess what's going to happen? I'm not going to be a part of that radio show anymore.
Sure.
You know good and well that – and that's not even the true portion of fear that comes with the voluntary workouts. It's not that – and there are coaches out there that would hold it against you. It's just fact. There are. I hold professional things against people I work with all the time, whether I don't feel like they show up prepared or they don't take it serious or I don't feel like they want to be there. Mentally, I hold that against people all the time. That's human nature. So a lot of coaches would. It's a part of our DNA. It's a part of our makeup. But the real fear comes with, what's that other guy doing when I'm not there? What's the guy behind me doing when I'm not there? What's the guy trying to take my position doing in the weight room, out in conditioning, in 7-on-7, when we're going and having team drills at night in the summer? Because that's what should and mostly does strike fear into all those players' hearts. And that's why they show up. Because I'll be damned if somebody's taking my position. So I'm going to go do everything I can do to make sure that doesn't happen and that I can get better so I can go out and I can excel. It's one of the reasons when I have had multiple discussions about what's going to be important this year. People will give you experience at quarterback. I think I poke fun at returning starter a lot, but I actually think returning starter this year is going to be massive because you understand the speed of the game, the physicality of the game, the expectation of how fast things move and how to verbalize different things. That's going to matter because the acclimation period of spring football, summer football together, workouts together, you lose a lot of that. So the understanding, the expectation, the wherewithal of the guys around you becomes very important. But the most important thing to me for this particular season is going to be leadership, because leadership forces accountability. And everything that you just discussed and everything that you just laid out, the number one word that I kept coming up with in my brain was accountability. And you brought up LSU and Joe Burrow. The weekend after they won their bowl game the year before, when they went out to the Fiesta Bowl and beat Central Florida, Lloyd Cushenberry called the offensive lineman and he said, hey, Saturday mornings, we're going to the facility and we're going to start meet and we're going to work out and we're going to start going over stuff and we're going to try to improve, because if we don't improve, the team's not going to improve. And they went every Saturday. And he told me 3 or 4 Saturdays go by and the D-line shows up. 3 or 4 Saturdays go by, Burrow's there. The receivers are there. The running backs are there. The DBs are there. That's accountability, man, because your other guys are working. So I need to be there working. I'm not going to let that guy outwork me. And I want to go be a part of what he's doing to help us get better. I think leadership brings accountability, and accountability is going to be massive in this. Can you keep yourself out of bars? Can you keep yourself inside? Can you wear a mask? Can you social distance? Can you just do the things that your coaches and your teammates are asking you to do that you need to do to probably get through the majority of this season? I mean, you talk about going in that locker room, what it was like for me. I still have that to this day. It's when I do a 30-minute Peloton ride by myself, I'm not getting anywhere near a personal record. But when I get on a live ride and I got Jeff Schwartz and I got PFT and I got Booger McFarland and I got Brooks Koepka and I got Rory McIlroy, and we're all on the same ride, you better believe I'm busting ass. And it's probably going to be my best turnout that I've had, because that accountability of those guys seeing what I'm doing right now is going to make me raise the level of my game. There's a place in Birmingham that sponsors my radio show, Way to Wellness. Try to help me lose some extra pounds, get in shape. Well, you know what I do every week? I show up and I weigh in. You know what I don't want to do? Show up and weigh in and have them say, well, you're up 5 pounds. Oh, you're up 8 pounds. Or you're up 3 pounds. That hurts. And Sure. It's just me and one other nurse. But I don't want them to say that to me. So the accountability that I have by having to go face one human being in front of the scale keeps me in check. And I think that's what leadership will bring to a lot of these football teams. That's part of what football builds. I mean, I worked for Stryker Medical for a long time, and they were notorious for hiring athletes. And I asked multiple managers when I worked there, why do you hire all these athletes? And they're like, well, it's work ethic. It's accountability. It's understanding that there's going to be a lot of times that you just got to go do it on your own. We're not going to hold your hand. You have to understand now, and that, again, it goes back to the last 3 months is the most probably college football has ever seen that. I mean, when I signed a scholarship, our strength coach sent us a workout book that we had to do the entire summer because kids didn't show up in the summer, much less January back then. But we had to run through that workout. But I did it by myself.
Sure.
I didn't have 4 teammates there to do it with me. So that was the accountability then was I better be ready when I get there. This is what they're expecting me to be ready to do. So accountability, leadership, structure, expectation, work ethic, desire, goals, competitiveness. And that's the thing that I believe these kids have been missing more than anything else is day-to-day competition. And you see that it's more so in basketball because, Jared Harper and Bryce Brown could go to the gym and they can go one-on-one for 5 hours and they just got better. Well, in football, there's only so many ways, receiver, DB, sure, O-line, D-line, maybe a little bit, but reality is you got to get in pads, but still, it's like I just said about that Peloton. When you go in that facility and your other offensive linemen are there, or you got O-line lifting and D-line lifting, and you're trying to show that group up, there are so many different ways to force competition. You don't want anybody to beat you in conditioning. You want to be the first one across the line in conditioning every time, even if you know you're not the fastest. So the inherent competition that is inside athletic facilities every day, it's not just on game day. It's not every time you go play. It's every day. It's showing up early. It's who's been watching the most film, who's the most prepared, who knows the substitution guys when they come in and what their tendencies are. It's everything. And that's what those guys have been missing, but it builds that inside of you internally. I mean, competition is what I try to find more than anything else. It's one thing why I think I've missed live sports so much is I don't care who wins and loses. I just want to watch people compete. Like I'm interested in seeing people compete. And that's what it's all about.
Let me ask you a question now. Now you're like stoking up my fire inside my stomach. I'm ready to fucking run through a wall. Excuse my language there. How much so you're in the media now, ESPN, SEC Network. You host a 4-hour radio show, I believe 3-4 hours in Birmingham every day. So I played competitive sports. I played football, baseball, basketball, all of them growing up. Was pretty good at baseball, neither here nor there. I never hung out with Brooks Koepka and Rory McIlroy like you, but the reason
it's just on a scrreen. I'm not really hanging out with them. I pretend like I do, but I really don't hang out with them.
You're biking up the the French Alps over there, 1v1. But how much I'm clearly a member of the media, but I think because I played sports my whole life, I have a different kind of set of beliefs than maybe a lot of other people that cover sports. I don't know how long you've been doing this for. You are a member of the media, but you obviously have a different perspective. Does it drive you crazy to see some of the other media members? We don't have to name names, but it seems like you're fired up about a lot of these topics. And again, you talk about them every day on radio, TV, whatever. But it seems like you're fired up about a lot of these topics that have been driving me crazy to see other media members say, this is why we can't. This is why we shouldn't. This is why this is why that. And it's like, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but one, who does have all the answers? Greg Sankey, who's been on calls with medical professionals every day. Bob Bowlesby, who's been on medical, and like, does it bother you that these narratives continue to seep out? Because it seems like they do bother you. I can just tell by the fire in your voice talking about this.
Every dime that I've made in my professional life has been because I played college football.
Sure.
And certain people would hear that and they would say, well, did Yellow Fella hook you up at the lumber yard and just give you a manager position when you got out and that's how that worked? No. My first job out of college was actually I coached middle school football for one fall because that was post 9/11. And obviously it wasn't very easy to get a job then.
Sure.
I coached middle school football and I got that job because of guys that I knew from playing at Auburn. And then there was a pharmaceutical company that was expanding and they had a round of interviews in Birmingham. I went and filled it out online. The hiring manager knew my name because he was an Auburn fan. That got me the interview. That didn't get me the job. I had to go through multiple interview processes, but I was able to sort of win the guys over that I needed to and actually got the job. Same thing when I went from pharma sales to medical sales. I didn't get that interview because the guys knew my track record in pharma sales was so great and I could go drop off samples and buy lunches and drive my Pontiac Grand Prix better than anybody else. They knew who I was. So they gave me an opportunity to talk. And then obviously that turned into something else. I'm not working for the SEC Network. I'm not working for Jocks in Birmingham. I'm not sitting next to Van Pelt on SportsCenter. If I didn't play football in the SEC, it's just a reality. I'm not. And I don't have an all-SEC plaque. I don't have an Outland or a Lombardi, and I wasn't even drafted. I didn't play down in the NFL. But I don't get any of those spots without playing college football. And I have a good friend named Griff Redmill that played at Alabama, and that's actually who I stole that quote from. I heard him say it long ago. And he's been in packaging sales his whole life. He sells boxes. And he'll tell you straight up, every dime that I've made has been because I played football at Alabama. Because he wouldn't have gotten those opportunities if he wouldn't have played football at Alabama. So when you see your life that way, you understand the importance of what it was.
Sure.
And when you understand how important it was to you, then you understand how important it was to people around you, to my wife, to my 3 children, to my friends, to the other people that I work with, to my family members, to my mom, to my dad. When all of those things are a reality to you every day, well, slowly playing college football just gets more and more important, more and more important, more and more important, because it's not just that it made you tough or it showed you how to work hard. It made you who you are, and it provided you with opportunities. It's why when the whole discussion about paying players comes up, I'm never going to walk way out on that plank and say, oh, these guys should be employees, 50-50 revenue split, the whole deal. The platform that's provided gives you an unlimited earning potential, and it puts you at the front of the line to be able to go get it. So, I tell people all the time, when you show up on campus with a college football scholarship, they're literally putting you in a Cadillac Escalade with the engine started in drive between the lines, and the GPS system, the coordinates are already locked and loaded to go. And all you got to do is keep that thing, but just keep 10-2, man. Keep it between the lines, and good things are going to happen to you. Might not be drafted in the first round. Good things will happen to you. I saw C.J. Conrad today, a kid that I covered at Kentucky. Really good tight end. Had a couple of serious injuries, can't play in the NFL anymore. They just announced he's going to do sideline for Kentucky radio for football games. Like, good things happen when you bust your ass and you go and you play college sports and you do it the right way. So I think what happens sometimes, and I try very hard not to be the I played, you didn't guy, because I think it's the weakest, lamest, easiest card that I can play. It would literally be like somebody calling me fat. Like, all right, what else you got? Like, it's like somebody making a hair joke with me. Like, come on, you got to have something better than that. So, the whole I played and he didn't or she didn't. You got to do better than that. You be better educated, more know than that. But I do think that there are instances in which, going back to what you said about Commissioner Sankey having answers, and maybe some people don't believe he has the answers, but the part that bothers me the most is the immediate shutting down of the conversation and not even allowing the door to be open for a possibility. So and the narrative used to shut those doors is what I think really bothers people. If some people would come out and say, hey, I don't think college football should be played because I believe COVID's real and I believe people are going to really get hurt and it's going to potentially cost people lives and it's not safe and we shouldn't do it. Well, we'd have a hell of a lot more respect for you if that was your stance, as opposed to the BMI index of offensive linemen put them at further risk, therefore we shouldn't have a season.
Yeah, sure.
Or to say that the NFL and college football are going to strain the COVID testing in this country to the point that it's going to be problematic. Do you know how many people are in this country compared to how many football players there are in this country? There's not – the percentage of that is so low that it's not even a topic of conversation. You don't even have that talk because it's not real. So I think what happens, Aaron, is because it's not as important to some people, they're more quick to shut the door on it. Or they're more quick or more adept to allow anything and everything to be an excuse to just not do it or not have it. And maybe some people just want to be right. And maybe some people, want to throw things out. And if it goes that way, they can look back and say, see, I told you so. I told you that was what was going to happen. But the reality is this: we fight for things that mean the most to us. If you put a 2,000-pound tiger in my front yard and my kids behind me, I'm going to bludgeon that tiger. I'm not losing that fight. I'm just not. I don't care what has to happen. I mean, if I have to bite his man parts off, I'll do it. It's like he's not winning that fight. But when something doesn't mean much to you, and an entity is just a thing that's there that you get paid to talk about, it doesn't bother you to say, just do away with it. Don't have it. It's like kids with vegetables. I don't need those. I don't need broccoli. Well, yeah, you don't like them, so they don't mean much to you. Now put ice cream on that table. There are not many kids that they're going to come up with anything and everything to be able to have the ice cream. Sure. So when things just don't inherently mean a lot to you, it's much easier to dismiss them. And it's a lot easier to come up with reasons to dismiss them, as opposed to people like you and I, because we see the inherent value, we see the real value, and we see what it does for so many different people that we'll say, by God, let's figure it out. I don't care if it's 2 games. I don't care if LSU goes out there and has 12 spring practices on TV, on ESPN, and we treat everyone like it's the Saturday night game on the SEC network. By God, let's do it. Let's just figure out a way to get something. Fit it in where you can get it in. because it is that important to that many people. And it doesn't have to be that important to everyone. That's the thing. And that's
You're
what
right.
we've lost. That's what we've lost a lot of in society. And my mom and dad taught me one thing growing up. They taught me a lot of things, but when I was really young, the main thing that they taught me was just look at everything from both sides.
Sure.
And before you give that definitive on anything, before you pound your fist on that table, just try to see what they're talking about. And if we can do that, then, and listen, I've got a fake Twitter account out there called Red Ass Cole because I lose my mind on the radio all the time. Trust me, I'm not a guy that sits around and is calm very often, but I do try to see things from both sides. And what you're talking about and where you're going, I have done my due diligence on that side. I have tried and I've listened and I've talked, and there are certain aspects that, like I said earlier when we were talking, there are just certain portions that my brain can't function with and can't get around. And, these people that want to talk about the free labor and the voluntary workouts. I mean, every time you go to the gym is a voluntary workout, man.
Sure.
Nobody's making you go to the gym. Nobody makes me get on my Peloton. I mean, you look at me, I could use a lot more workouts. They're all voluntary. Nobody makes you go to Orange Theory. Nobody makes you go hang on the mirror at Pure Bar. It's voluntary. You do that on your own. So then all of a sudden, when college football is brought into the equation and voluntary is used, a dictatorship. They're mistreating them. They're running them into the ground. It's not fair. That's why about number one lesson for my kids, Aaron, life ain't fair.
Sure.
It's just not. And that goes back to the testing portion of it. In what part of our life are the people who have the means to obtain things that they don't do that to get ahead of other people?
Sure.
Every portion of this planet that happens. But all of a sudden, college football is involved, and we shouldn't be allowed to do that. Like, what are we talking about? It just, if we could all just calm down and use some common sense, I just think it would help all of us a little bit.
Well, it's wild because, and that's, I don't know if it's just the time that we live in. There's a lot going on in society, but the inability or disinterest to listen to the other side is amazing me. Like, I'll give you an example, and I use this all the time. Anyone who knows me knows I have opinions on pretty much everything. You can go through every Twitter feed, every podcast, every radio show. I have not shared an opinion on children being back in elementary K through 12. I don't have kids. I haven't done the homework. I'm willing to listen to both sides. And you know what? I'm sure there's, but like, I'm not going to just come out and shoot you down because you haven't, and it's just like, that's the part. And this is a broader societal, why can't we have a normal discourse kind of thing as it pertains to all this stuff? So real quick, I don't want to take too much more of your time. Give the fan, the person that does, not the loser that's trying to give us the reasons that it's not going to happen. The fan that loves their team, like, what has to happen over the next couple weeks? And we know there's broader societal things. Testing has to go down here and positives has to go down there. But from a football, sports, in the facility, on campus perspective, what are 2 or 3 things that we have to see to feel good that whether it's week 0 or week 1, we're going to get football on the field?
Well, I will go back a little bit, and even though you said you didn't want me to go into it,
I got all the time in the world, man.
Public perception is going to be real with this.
Yes.
And the numbers need to be acceptable. The trends need to be acceptable because that matters. It's going to be a part of it. And I do think that trends need to continue to come down. I don't know if it's the amount of positive tests, because then you look at the amount of tests that are out there, and we could go back and forth.
One thing I'll say, people are going to skew stats however they want to fit their narrative. I don't mean to cut you off, but that is one thing that I've noticed over the last 3-4 months since this all started.
You and I have done that covering players or teams.
Yeah, of course.
I'll find a stat about a guy that I like to back him up and make him sound like he's better than your guy. I mean, it's
sure.
I mean, it's just that's
fair.
That's how it works. Those are numbers, but you have to respect the numbers from both sides. I try to do that. But public perception will matter here. And I think that's why you saw Greg Sankey sort of plead with the public after they had the meeting with the athletic directors in Birmingham to say, we need you to social distance. We need you to wear a mask. You saw the league put out a couple of things on social media with all the coaches wearing masks. That's just it's going to be a real portion of whether or not they can actually pull this off. I think if you continue to see schools able to announce a very limited amount of positive tests, that's going to be a real indicator for we're going to be able to move forward with this. This is me personally.
Sure.
I think the more schools that tell you that they're not allowing students to come back is actually better for college football. Now, again, all the professor whatever and little professor and all the all the super educational folks out there are going to tell you that I'm crazy for saying that. But the portion of that, Aaron, is just because we do it this year doesn't mean that's what it is for the next 150 years of college football. You can alter. In football we call audibles, but that doesn't mean you call that audible every time you come to the line of scrimmage. Sometimes you have to do it just to get by a series or get by a play, live to fight another day. If no students go back to campus and we play football, to me, that's living to fight another day, because that's saving other sports, that's saving other athletic departments, and it's saving a whole hell of a lot of jobs. If you really want to go down that wormhole, we can do that. But there are jobs at the FCS level, at the Division III level, at the Group of 5 level, around campuses, off campuses, hotel, bar, restaurant, parking, security, concession, coaches, athletic trainers, equipment managers, tutors, academic advisors. The list goes on and on and on and on of people who would be greatly affected by missing one season of college football. Multiple schools across this country, their athletic departments are done. Not football, all the athletics done at that school, because that is their budget for the entire year. And if they don't get it, they're going to be in big trouble. So I think if you continue to see the testing go the direction that it's been going, and publicly things continue to just cool down, sure, look like they're better, look like they're more acceptable, look like the trends are heading in the right direction, I think that's actually going to be big. And then I think just you look for what a manageable schedule is going to look like. And I don't know what that is right now for the SEC, ACC, or Big 12. It could be conference only, conference plus one non-conference. It could be regional. You could have some schools maybe playing twice, whatever it is. Just look for a strategic plan that makes more sense to be able to try to find a way to get these games in. But from actually on campus perspective, I think really the only thing, and we won't see this necessarily, but the only thing that we have to rely on is just guys doing the right things. Don't go to bars, don't go to parties, don't go out. Don't be dating multiple girls and hanging out with them during the course of 1 week. Like, just stay home, play video games, watch films, stay away from other people, wear a mask, social distance, wash your hands, whether you believe in that stuff or not. And if you don't, that's fine. But don't hate on these kids that are trying to do it for the right reasons. And if you're going to be around them, you try to make sure you're doing it, because what if that is what maybe does or doesn't allow us to play a little bit of college football this fall? So let's just try to take it serious, and hopefully we can get some games in. I think we're going to get them. I think we're going to get something. And I think it has a chance to maybe be more than we really believe it could be right now, because I do think a lot of things that we talked about are heading in the right direction and are becoming better for everything involved.
Real quick, how much do you think – we talked about it to open this interview. As we record now, it is MLB opening night. NBA has exhibition games. And I was thinking about this the other day. Mid-June, late June, early July, all the conversation was, well, what happens when they get to the bubble and this goes wrong? Well, what happens with Major League Baseball and they're going to be traveling? We don't know. But so far, the professional leagues have handled it really well. And so I'm sitting here now thinking, okay, we're talking about all the reasons there's no way the NFL or college football can get off. We were doing the same thing 6 weeks ago with Major League Baseball and the NBA. Do you think if the NBA just goes off without a hitch, we're going to get a positive here or there? But do you think that helps the college football and even the NFL narrative, even though it's a different deal? We know kids are on campus. We know the NFL isn't a bubble, but I feel like any positive momentum, you know what I mean?
NASCAR helped. I mean, they had fans in stands a couple of weeks ago. I think even a little bit of MMA, UFC has helped. PGA has helped. And, I mean, if you looked at the PGA guidelines and what they're doing with Cam Champ a couple of weeks ago at Detroit, if you test positive and you're asymptomatic, you can begin a cycle of testing every 24 hours. You can be back in 3 days because all it takes is back-to-back negatives and you can return. I think he tested negative or positive on Monday. He went negative, and then he goes to Detroit and competes. Now, college football has laid down this 14-day deal, which is going to be excruciating for some programs. And how they manage that, deal with that, is going to be interesting. You're going to hear assistant coaches say that their position meetings are going to be Zoom for the entire season. They're just not going to risk all those guys together. It's just one more way to keep them apart. I think you're going to have separate practices, so to speak, like maybe 1s and 3s on one field, 2s and 4s on another field, and just mix it up that way. But I think the NBA will help. Major League Baseball will help. The NFL will help a lot. If the NFL can get into camp and things can go well, and even some of the ways that they're testing and what they're looking at and how they're using their information, that can be very beneficial to college football. So I think they all help a little bit, but the NFL is the one that can help the most. If they can get to training camp and things can get going and be pretty smooth, that will be massive for college football.
Cole Cubelic, my man, ESPN, SEC Network, 3-man front down in Alabama. Dude, I didn't know you got this fired up, man. Every time I'm on with you, you're the host and you're asking me questions. This was great, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, man, I love it. It's like I said, it's depending on how important things are to you, it's probably going to change how you talk about them. And college football is very important to me. And listen, I've heard it all. I've had guys call into my show and tell me, well, this financially benefits you. It's what you get paid to do. It's fair. But I would have taken the same stance when I wasn't getting paid to cover it, because I knew what it had done for me then. When I was either a medical sales rep or a drug rep, or I've sold insurance, I sold boxes, I've done a lot of different things, and I know how important it is to me and a lot of other people. So when you get people talking about things that mean a lot to them and they're willing to fight for, that's what you're going to get. I'm willing to fight for college football. It means that much to me, and the reason that it means that much to me is because I know it means that much to a lot of other people, or else I wouldn't have had it the way that I did.
Dude, this was awesome, man. Thank you for the time. We'll do it again soon. Looking forward to seeing you on a sideline, SEC, ESPN. I appreciate you, my man. I do.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and I hope we can catch up again soon.